We have surveys that have been done by Transparency International Africa, in which they rank all the various countries in the world on a corruption index, and without fail, African countries make up the bottom half of the most corrupt countries. And troublingly for South Africa, we seem to be dropping in the rankings.
It's really in the last 15, 20 years that the recognition has come through of the devastating human rights consequences of corruption. Corruption is not a victimless crime. Huge quantities of public resources are squandered.
If people are stealing money that's meant for the public, that's meant for education, that's meant for electricity, that's meant for basic services that are not being delivered adequately, corruption is theft from the poor.
The anti-corruption conference that Konrad Adenauer Foundation, together with its partner Accountability Now, organized was actually to find very pragmatic way of how to deal with corruption. The participants agreed that the most important thing is to actually promote the political will to deal with corruption. I think what the participants also realized is that we don't need new laws or new regulations, you know, they're in place. But what we need are politicians that really take this problem seriously and deal with it effectively and implement the laws and regulations.
The idea of accountability itself, which is one of the basic elements of the rule of law, means that anybody who's behaving in a corrupt way is in breach of their accountability obligations. So a lot of the work that we have done in Accountability Now relates to dealing with corruption both in the public and the private sector. That impelled us into this collaboration with the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, who have a Rule of Law in Africa program, of which this conference was a part.
Often people think corruption is acceptable. It's a way of how to deal with public officials, it's a way of life, but they don't realize it's really a crime against humanity. And corruption also has various implications. And public officials must realize that to accept a gift in order for them to provide a service that they should provide in any case is not acceptable. And there should be consequences if people get caught.
Our concern is that government is not taking accountability. Parastatals are not taking accountability. And that has trickled down to civil society, where a lot of people in civil society are also not being accountable for their actions. And our main thrust is to get people to understand what it means to be accountable for your actions and to take responsibility for how you conduct yourself within society.
Corruption isn't just a question of what happens to the economy. It isn't just a question of the fact that investors lose confidence in a country which has a lot of corruption. But we also need to bear in mind that corruption is ultimately a human rights issue. If people are not getting access to services because municipality funds have been squandered or there's been some form of maladministration, it obviously means that people are not getting access to their rights, their constitutionally enshrined rights.
The earlier resolutions have to do with recognizing corruption as a crime, illegal and immoral, of countering corruption through effective anti-corruption machinery of state, and introduction of the notion of an anti-corruption ombudsman who assists in incentivizing and protecting whistleblowers.
Whistleblowers are motivated in the public good, essentially. There may be some, but by exception, who have an axe to grind. But in the main, they are honest people who simply want to act honestly.
If whistleblowers aren't protected and are not incentivized, they just don't come forward. The last two ideas relate to the World Bank sanction system in procurement, which has a way of keeping those in the procurement process honest, and the disclosure of financial interests of those who are involved in the procurement process. Civil servants, politicians must tell the public what they have so that the public can form an impression of how well people are doing out of public office. The idea of public office is to serve people, not to get rich. If you want to get rich, you go into business. If you want to serve people, you go into politics. And that doesn't happen in Africa. In fact, it doesn't happen all over the world.
What is needed is every citizen in South Africa or in other countries, they actually need to take responsibility. And if they want to live in a society that is not corrupt, they have to start by themselves. And you also have to be alert. You must not turn a blind eye. You have to take action. You cannot just sit back and say, you know, this is not my problem. This is a kind of problem that the courts, the police, you know, institutions have to deal with it. But I think it starts with everybody.
Corruption can be dealt with, but it starts with the realization that something as simple as getting out of a traffic fine, something as simple as bribing a police officer to make a traffic fine go away, is a form of corruption. Corruption isn't just about billions of dollars that are wasted by government departments. Corruption starts with us.
The more people who become aware of the fact that corruption is a human rights issue and that dealing with corruption takes strong political will, secure, effective anti-corruption machinery of state, and strategies such as the protection and incentivization of whistleblowers and a civil sanction system such as that which is used by the World Bank, the better. The better for the country, the better for its future, the greater the prospects of peace, prosperity and progress.